Hello everyone and welcome to the 7th episode of the Mojoverse podcast. I'm Mo.
And this is Joe.
And we're going to be reviewing some movies, some games, and TV shows.
So first off, we wanted to talk about ongoing TV shows that we're watching right now. We watched the first season of iZombie, and we're almost done the first season of Lucifer. So the show iZombie is basically, the main character is a zombie. The way they made it seem is that there are zombies that exist in the world, but the way they get turned is they do get scratched or bitten or whatever. As long as they don't die, I believe they become a zombie. Or they do die and they come back if they've been scratched. But they're making it sound like it's some sort of drug that somebody made, or a mixture of drugs and something else, like a drink or something, and that's what makes you into a zombie where you're dead and you have a strong urge to eat brains. So it's kind of funny how they did this one as a cop show as well, where the main character eats the brains and then after she gets the personality of whoever's brain she ate, which could lead to some really funny scenarios. But at the same time, you're struggling with trying to figure out what her personality actually is, because she's always eating brains, so she's always kind of acting as somebody else, which is kind of weird for an outside view of people in her life.
Yeah, they didn't really take the time to establish the character at the beginning, but I can imagine how hard that is to actually act. Because every episode you have to take on a new character, but also play parts of the original character with elements of every personality that she's taken on to this point. So it adds a little bit of depth to the acting too, but also for story-wise, it opens up a lot of really funny and creative ways of portraying a character with all these different personalities and whatnot.
Yeah, and she gets their memories as well, so that's how she's able to solve the crimes, is eventually when she sees scenes that she'd recognize in those people's memories, or just get flashes of it by touching certain objects, she can relive their last moments before they died, so she can help solve crimes that way. And her partner just figures that she's some sort of medium. That's how she's getting these flashes, so that is kind of funny.
He seems pretty accepting, just like, oh, she's a psychic, okay, let's go.
Yeah, well, she knows things you couldn't possibly know, so. And they do very stereotypical personalities too, I suppose, because she was a jock, and the stripper one was kind of funny. Yeah. She was actually a psychopath, so that one was cool. How she did that was a cool episode. She didn't feel any emotions for that episode.
Mm-hmm. Well, she has well, there's a bit of a spoiler, but she does meet somebody who is a zombie, and that person has been eating brains and then taking on personalities as well. So it's funny to see their relationship together, how they're both changing their personalities and still interacting with each other. It's pretty funny.
It would have been nicer if that lasted a little longer, actually, because it's finally somebody you can share something with.
Yeah.
And if something went wrong that day, they were able to share it with each other, like, oh, I can't go out today because I'm sick, and she's like, wait a minute, I can't go out today because she has a phobia of the outdoors or something, so it's really
that was that hacker episode. That was a good episode. One of the main issues with me is that that trope of the hero always has to be alone and all that. So she is a big loner. The person she works with at the morgue does know her secret.
At least one person.
One person, yeah. But I don't understand why she can't tell maybe her roommate, because they have some serious issues since she's been turned into a zombie.
And she broke up with her fiance. Which she did explain why, because she wants to save him. Like, she won't be able to grow old or anything, and she wants to save him the trouble, which is nice, but I think she should have at least shared it with him. Mm-hmm. So that stuff is just frustrating when they start pushing everybody away from their lives.
Yeah.
But spoiler alert, at the end of the season, her roommate finds out in a terrible way. Also, when her ex-fiance finally finds out, it's also in a terrible way, because he goes through a really tough time where he ends up going to an asylum, basically freaking out that he sees these things that he can't explain, and he's sure there's something like zombies out there, but everybody's telling him there aren't any. And this would have been the time to actually tell him the truth, but she still keeps it from him. So
at
he's
what
allowed
point
to be upset.
Would you rather let him go, or think he's gone insane, or tell him? And if he doesn't like you and wants to leave, well, let him. But don't let him think that he's crazy, because if you then tell him after, he's not gonna be okay with that because you let it go on for so long. Same thing with the roommates. Like, you've known her.
That bothered him.
Yeah, you've known her for how long, right? And then this happened. It's a major thing in your life, and I understand not wanting to tell her, but there are some points. There's a few points actually where they could have written that in, and they didn't. So then at the end, she gets attacked by a zombie, and then it's like, whoops, I'm a zombie too. Hi. And then, of course, you're not going to... I'd run away too,
Yeah, so at least they know. I don't know where they're going with that. Hopefully there isn't some sort of stupid memory wipe or something. Because they do that a lot too in TV shows.
I don't understand why the main character always has to be alone. It really bugs me.
Yeah, and we watched the first episode of the second season. We're not sure if we want to keep going. I don't know what the story is going to be like at all for this season, the second season. But her mother and her brother are upset over something, and she won't tell them, even though everybody else pretty much knows at this point. And those are the last two people in her lives that she would really have to tell. So just get it over with. So we're kind of getting frustrated at this point.
Yeah, it's a big sticking point for me, but if something really interesting happens in the story, they launch something in the first couple episodes, I might be more willing to watch it, but as it stands right now, I'm really frustrated with it.
Alright, so on to Lucifer. We're probably about 3/4 way in right now. It's still pretty interesting, although this one too is also another... he's not sharing his identity. Well, he is sharing actually his identity, but nobody really believes him. His name is Lucifer, and people just think, oh, his parents must have been pretty crazy to call him that. And the way he just outwardly says everything, and he talks about how God's his father and everything like that, and he's the devil. Yeah, just nobody believes him. People just think, I don't know, he's just joking around or he's crazy. But this one's another cop show. His partner, he was able to solve a few crimes, so he has a cop partner now who likes working with him, because what he's able to do is he's able to pull out people's innermost desires from them. So he just asks them what they desire the most, and he tells them. So he has the power of persuasion there, and finding things out from people that they wouldn't otherwise tell other people. So that's kind of useful for solving crimes.
But that also brings up a nice comedy element to it, where he goes up to this big biker. He's covered in tattoos and all that stuff, and says, what do you really want in life? I want to own a fashion line, he said. And then they just have this look on them like, why did I just tell you that? It's pretty funny how they do it.
Yeah, and I guess she thinks he's weird, but she just thinks that he's just really good at, I don't know, manipulating people.
Because he's British.
He is very, very good looking, so all the women swoon. He also has this, charm that people, like women, literally can't resist. Except for some reason, she's resisting, so she's the one special one.
Well, I think he's intrigued by her too, right?
Yeah, so he wants to know why his powers don't work on her. I think they're going somewhere with it other than just saying, well, she's the only one unaffected, the end. There might be a reason why she's special.
Yeah, they better explain it.
Yeah. And basically what I would like to see happen is that she finally does believe that he is the devil. She keeps finding these clues and she's like, oh my god, maybe he really is. And then they do something and then she changes her mind, because now, this might be a little bit of spoiler, but it happens about midway.
But where it's already, season 2 is almost over, so we're talking about season 1.
Yeah, where he says bullets don't hurt him. And so he tells her to shoot him to prove that he's the devil.
Well, also she sees his normal face in a reflection. It's all red and disfigured and stuff. So she's like, "Oh yeah, who are you? Who are you?" And he says, "Oh, I've been telling you all this time, I'm the devil."
I don't think she's seen his face yet. He's actually shown several, well, as he perceives bad guys, he shows that his eyes start flashing, there's fire in his eyes, and he does sometimes flash a face that's kind of creepy, and it makes people literally go insane or start screaming. So I don't know what she believes he's doing there, how she's able to scare people so much, especially when it's somebody with a gun or somebody that doesn't scare too easily.
I like how they did that, though, because you'll have a show that they don't really do much special effects or anything like that. They just say, oh, he's the devil, let's say, and then you won't get any glimpse of his real identity under whatever appearance he's using. Or you can get other ones that show nothing but his devil appearance. I like this one because they just show you flashes of it, and it's just so much more effective if you can just see it for a split second. And they have really cool music and like a distortion on it, so it looks really creepy when they do it.
His acting
is amazing. He's got a face on him that when he goes devilly, he's very convincing. He's really good.
Well, because otherwise he's very charming and very nice, so when he does make that switch, it's all the more powerful, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
Going back to the gunshot episode, she finally does shoot him, and he was expecting it not to hurt like usual, but then he starts bleeding, and he's not supposed to be bleeding. So we don't know if he's staying on Earth too long is making him mortal, so we're gonna probably find out a little more about what's going on there.
See, it's pretty cool because that's not happening to his little devil or little demon sidekick.
Well, because she keeps begging him to go back home, which is hell.
But she's not turning more mortal, though. So maybe there's something up when he took his wings off or something. So
yeah, but he's also actually becoming nicer, and actually he believes he's still doing his job by punishing the bad. But what they're realizing too is that he's also seeking justice for the good. So he's actually doing a lot of good by finding out other people's killers and sometimes saving people. So it might be something that he's turning good or doing good deeds, and it's unbalancing.
It's rubbing off on him. Yeah. They talk about some things happening in hell with him not there. I hope they can maybe get into that a little bit more. But I don't necessarily want them to show hell how they have it, right? I'd rather just kind of talk about it to
some mystery
add a bit of urgency to him being there, but I don't want them to show it, because then we can kind of make it up in our minds what's happening, and instead of just spoon-feeding us exactly what's happening. So just kind of mention it, and they've done a good job with that so far.
But we don't know how much further this can go on, because really, he's going to have to eventually go back there. So it's...
Well, he can't.
How will it end? Because somebody needs to be there keeping the souls in hell, so...
Well, I like it. We're going to finish the first season for sure. By then, the second season will be out. I'm interested. It's falling into that you can't tell anybody thing, which kind of bugs me. But at this point, I don't really think he has enough of a relationship with anybody to tell them. But if he keeps going with... his partner, he's gonna have to at some point. And if they kind of dance around that for a bit, I might lose interest. But right now, it's still a really good show.
Season 2 might be a good time to tell us.
It would be.
Tell her.
It would be, but we'll see. We'll see.
All right, so that's it for TV shows that we're watching right now. There's actually 4 mangas that I already read and finished. So I'm going to talk a little bit about those.
You haven't slept much recently, have you?
No, no. They were very good, so I'm happy with those. All 4 of them are romances. I did read about half of another one that I really did not like, a 5th book that I'm just going to talk about quickly because I thought it was not good, but I prefer to talk about the good ones. So first off, Kari First Love. That one's a little bit of... more of a cutesy one, so I'd say tweens would be able to read this, although there is a little bit more nudity in this one. I wouldn't say much nudity, but it's a little bit more mature content there towards the end. They're in school, so it is in high school. I really liked this one because the main character, well, I feel like I could really relate to her. She's shy and doesn't really have any friends, and she has she's really smart in school, but she has a hard time with any other social things. And of course, she gets the interest of the most popular boy in school because he sees her reading well, not really reading because it's a photography book that his brother made. We find out later that his brother passed away, so that actually means a lot to him. And his brother taught him about photography, so he wants to follow in his footsteps and is passionate about photography. So that makes it a little more interesting and outside of the regular, always in classrooms type of stories, which I really dislike because they get really boring really fast for me. It's really adorable. They actually end up getting married in the end. That might be a spoiler, sorry, but it's really cute. The next one I want to talk about is The One.
Which one?
The One.
Oh, okay.
The.
Okay.
This one I enjoyed a lot more because it was actually, it's not based in school. They're actually finished college and they're gone out and getting careers. It's
really?
about, yeah.
Wow.
Something mature that actually happens after school. In this one, it's about the fashion industry. So it's a little more eccentric, I would say, than what I'm used to reading. If people have sensitivities to this, there are transgender people, there are homosexuals, bisexuals. It's pretty much all over the place.
But when you say fashion industry...
Yeah, so this one's very, very mature. I think actually the mangas are wrapped up for explicit reasons. Okay. So there's heavy nudity, heavy language, mature content. But it's done very tastefully. I don't think it's too over the top because it's about a relationship and everything's done pretty naturally. They're both she gets into the main character, the girl, she gets into the fashion industry because she's in love with these photos that she's seen of a male model. Her mother before her was extremely popular before her and has traveled around Europe. This is based, I think, in New York. And the models that she's seen were Asian, I think from Japan. They're twin brothers, so they don't really know much about the second brother, who's a director, I believe, in the fashion industry. He's not actually a model himself, but that's the one she ends up falling in love with when she gets to meet him. She meets him when he pretends to be just a regular person out there, so he can get to, when he's disguised, so he can get to see what people are really like and without being bothered of reporters and things like that.
So is she working in the fashion industry?
Yeah, eventually she actually does become a model herself, and she becomes extremely popular. She's really good because she's got that freshness that, I won't say she doesn't try very hard, but she's more happy and bubbly than what they're used to out of
models look grumpy a lot, don't they?
Yeah, and it's a tough life, so there's that. Also, I wanted to mention, I actually liked everything about this book, except closer to the end. I thought they didn't manage this properly, and I don't want to give too much away because I think people should really read this one if they're into mature romances. The brother has mental health issues, and instead of addressing them through medication or through seeking counsel, he just gets into an accident, bumps his head, gets amnesia, forgets why he has issues in the first place. And even though it takes about 3 years for him to regain his memories, because in that state he acts like a child, like he reverts back to like a 12-year-old child.
Makes sense.
He doesn't remember anything, so he's becoming a new person without all that tough childhood stuff that he had. And then he starts remembering his past. And even though he remembers everything in the end, he's still a nice guy instead of somebody who's completely gone off the deep end, which I find very... I didn't like that at all, because that's just the easy way out, and that's not how it actually happens. And I didn't like that they did that at all. I thought that was a cop-out.
Yeah, it's hard to write that, though. It really is. But to say, instead of showing a character actually getting help, I've noticed a lot of times where they go, the friends are just like, oh yeah, we'll help them. And you can't really do that in real life. That's tough.
Yeah, so everything was pretty good up until then. It ends really well, so I really enjoyed it. There was a little bit too much of them breaking up and getting back together and breaking up and getting back together towards the end.
But when you said it was a manga, that's pretty much assumed.
Yeah, they spend enough time together for me to like it as a romance. The two brothers have a very, very, very dark past. So also, again, if you're sensitive about that, there is a past of child abuse and things like that. So
do they address it in a good way, though?
Well, I mean, one brother had an easier time dealing with it than the other, which I find a little bit weird. After all he's gone through, how he doesn't have more problems than that.
Okay.
The next manga that I read is That Wolf Boy Is Mine. I just looked at the back of the manga and read that it literally says it's like Fruits Basket, and that's what sold me on it, because I love Fruits Basket so much. The main character, girl, stumbles upon four popular boys at school. She finds out one of the boys' secrets, that they can transform into animals, because she sees him turn into a wolf. The other three can transform into a raccoon, a fox, and a rabbit, I believe. I can't remember. It's very short. I think it's only 4 mangas long, so they don't really have much character development, which I don't like, because you don't get the chance to really like anybody or really care about the story. I don't like that they compared it to Fruits Basket, because it's not even a little bit as good as. Because again, you don't get the chance to really like the characters, and there's a bit of a love triangle in the end too. Like, I think they just tried to copy Fruits Basket and failed horribly.
But love triangle's okay, but you need a reason to care.
Yeah.
Or to actually root for somebody. But if they do it so short and there's no character development,
I actually didn't care who she would end up with because of that. Because, okay, they're both suitors, whatever, they're both fine.
You're kind of more just witnessing the whole thing instead of actually getting involved. And it's like, okay, great, she's with him now, awesome.
Yeah, and the story to Fruits Basket, I mean, it's more of a long, ancient thing where they each become the animal of that zodiac, and there was more depth to it. In this one, they're just saying there's some magical animals out there that are able to change their forms, or specifically into humans, I think. Great. But what's really weird is that they made a point to say that they were animals first and foremost, and that they're able to become humans. So I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but that's a little bit gross.
Yeah, is that legal?
I mean, she's seriously starting, like, she's dating a wolf. So yeah, there's I think that's a little weird. I like it better when it's actually a fox demon, or
give them a reason to turn into that.
Yeah, something more supernatural rather than it just being a special animal, because that just makes it a little bit too animal-y for me.
Or I'm the descendant of the fox god or something like that. Yeah,
so to make them actually born human, because I think in this one, they weren't born human. They were born animals, and they became special later. Except for the one guy, I think he's part human, part animal, because something with the parents, which makes it a little bit more okay, I guess. But
a little bit.
Yeah. I didn't really enjoy this one all that much, so I'm actually not recommending it. I just wanted to put that out there. The next one that I read, which is one that I didn't really enjoy, Tale of the Moon. It's supposed to be a romance, but so far I don't see where the romance is, and I read quite a few chapters. I think I read about 50 or so. There's a lot for this one. The main character is so frustratingly dumb. Like, really, really dumb. Like, she's 15 and she's young, but normally in other mangas, the 15-year-olds, well, that's the age they do romances for, and they're usually pretty mature. But in this one, not mature at all, terrible at everything, clumsy, like every trope they can throw at the main character, they've done it for her. And the guy that she's interested in, well, she's chasing after him even though he has no interest in her whatsoever. And her grandfather, who's part of a ninja clan, or the leader of the ninja clan, wants her to marry him because he's the best ninja in the land. And that's the only thing she's good at this point, is to marry, because she's really a really terrible ninja. So the only good thing he can do with her is throw her at somebody and invite that guy into their clan. So she tries to marry him, or tries to impress him, and he's slowly starting to see, her charm. I don't see it. It's very weird, because I don't know if it's the drawing, because he is a little bit older than her, but he looks a lot older than her. And it's weird to see like a young girl and an older guy. The way they do it is that she's way too childish to be in a relationship, and it just seems a little bit silly, and I don't see anything cute about it. So I stopped reading that one right away, and she's just too frustrating to deal with.
And that's a hard part when your character design gets in the way of your story, right? You want a certain continuity in the story, but then you design the characters beforehand, right? And then you put them into the story, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, like I'm not saying there's anything wrong with huge age gaps in relationships. Like I don't want people to think I'm saying that. Yeah, but because the way they made her is just they don't fit well together. Yeah. They have no chemistry in my opinion.
Oh, okay.
The next one I really enjoyed. This is actually, I wouldn't say one of my favorites, but it's up there. It's called Blackbird. It is very mature. Not mature in the sense that the one was, because it's after school and they're a lot older. This one was a little more, well, they're young, they're teenagers, but they actually show you a little bit more than what most mangas show you, so it was actually kind of a surprise. So there's a lot of nudity in this one. Even usually when there is nudity, there isn't a lot of heavy language, but they just outright say it in the dialogue. Like they use some more mature words in this one.
But that's good. See, the reason why, like, if you're just listening out of context, there's a couple of these with a little bit more mature themes. And it's not that you really seek out that type of manga. It's you seek out a little bit more of an adult storytelling and a little bit more of a mature setting, right? And it just kind of goes with that.
So 18 and up, but not done in a way that it's just like disgusting.
Yeah, but you're okay with the, if they need to swear, they can swear. That's okay, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's actually any swearing. It's just what they say is mature.
Okay.
And they do it in a really funny way too. So it actually really is enjoyable for adults. It's actually really entertaining. What the story is about is that the main character, when she becomes of age at age 16, she becomes, well, in Japanese they said the Senkaroka, and I hope I said that right, but apparently it means something like a peach or fruit. I think they're referring to the scent, and she's sort of this maiden that demons find out about, and it happens every several years or so, where demons are attracted to her because if they drink her blood, they become immortal, or their life extends anyway. But if there's also a prophecy that if they marry her and they're the clan leader, then their clan will prosper forever. But most of the time, we find out that a lot of demons don't bother with the marriage, they just end up eating her. So they all die pretty young, just trying to get whatever they get, their powers increased or their life increased. She didn't know anything about this except when she was really young, she's able to see spirits and things that nobody else is able to see, and she attracts a lot of demons and whatever tricksters that always try to make her life a little bit hell. Then you've got the guy main character. He's known her since they were both very young, so they're childhood friends. He gets to know her. His brother was supposed to be the one that was going to marry her so that their clan can prosper, because he's the eldest brother, so he was supposed to be the clan leader, but he didn't treat her properly, and that bothered the younger brother who was a friend of hers. So he actually, unbeknownst to her, he leaves her for a time being so that he can gain more power, become stronger, and actually get his parents' approval in becoming the clan leader instead of his brother. And he actually manages to do that, also that he can actually be the one to marry her, which is really sweet. But you find out later that she had her memories taken away, so she doesn't remember any of that. She just remembers there was this boy that was really nice to her. So when she sees him again, he's ready to marry her. Like, he loves her. He's thought nothing about nobody else but her for the past 10 years, and she can't remember much of anything, and she finds it a little bit weird that he wants to marry her already, and she finds out he's a demon. He's actually a Tengu, which is, they have crow-like wings, which are like really beautiful. They look like black angel wings, and normally they have really long pointed noses, but thank God they didn't put that in this. They're good looking. All they have is wings. So it's kind of hard at the beginning to go through the fact that the main character is already really loving towards her and she doesn't like him at all, so she keeps pushing him away, and you're a little frustrated because it's one-sided and you're waiting for her to catch up to how much he loves her. And he's there to protect her because he's so strong and powerful. Every time he's near her, the lesser demons don't bother her anymore, so her life becomes a whole lot easier. Actually, if he left her alone at all, she would probably end up dying. So he becomes her protector. So you see no reason for her to keep pushing him away, because this is the reality of her life, is that that's going to keep happening. So if you push through the beginning, it becomes a lot better. Finally, she ends up falling in love with him. And then after that, she actually gets her memories back. So she falls in love with him even more because she feels that much closer to him. There is a little bit of school life in it at first. For some reason, in order to stay closer to her, he becomes a teacher, which I find a little bit weird because normally what they do is that they become students in their class instead, like foreign exchange students. So I thought it was a little creepy because how are you supposed to get close to the teacher?
That's weird.
It was a little bit weird, but thank God they didn't do too much of that. For the most part, actually, he lives next door to her now. He has a house next to hers, so she just, after school, she walks over there a lot. And you see other people under his command, so other Tengus from the clan, and you get to meet them a little bit. Of course, all good-looking boys.
Of course.
But most of the time is spent in his world, where he brings her to her village up in the mountains, where no humans can get to. So there's a lot of that there, so I liked that supernatural element a lot more enjoyable than school life for me.
With the erasing her memories adds a conflict, right? A lot of times, though, when people do that, it's an artificial conflict. And it's a bit of a cop-out to, like, okay, now we're going to do something that changes the story. And they wipe someone's memories. And a lot of times they do that to the detriment of the series. But this one, you say,
it starts out that way, not in the middle.
But that allows for the character development, and then she does get them back eventually, which is good.
So you feel like you're kind of following her too, because you feel like you've missed something.
But then there's a payoff at the end
too.
So good.
So they do a good job with paying everything off. Actually, at first, when you find that pretty weird, like why does that happen to her, and why are they attracted to her, and a little bit of what they add for nudity and romance and comedy is that every time they kiss each other, she gives him more strength, more power. So that's how when he gets into a battle or he's seriously injured, well, her love basically heals him.
Aww.
So it is a little bit cheesy, but I thought that was a little bit gratuitous service, actually. But they actually, later at the end, they actually explain why that happens. I was really confused at the beginning, but all the pieces just suddenly fit when they explain that. And it fit so perfectly, and it made so much sense. And it actually made that a complete believable part of the story.
Now, the key for me when they tie something up at the end is, if you were to go, knowing what you know at the end, if you were to go back and reread it, does it show up?
Well, it just makes everything, a little more mature and less just silly, like, okay, you had to put that there just
so it'll change your perspective if you go back. Okay, good.
I appreciated it a lot more. Also, I can't tell you if it ends well or not, because that would actually give the whole story away. Because the whole point later on is what happens when he does marry her and when they do get together, like what happens to a human if they mate with a demon. So they need to find that out. And apparently there's this book that was written 300 years ago, which was the last time where a demon actually took a human as a bride, and documented what happened and what happened to her, and apparently it's something bad, and that's all they know. So they're trying to stay away from each other a little bit, which got a little frustrating, but then they realize that they can't stay away from each other, so at least there's that. But they don't end up finding this book till the very end, so you actually don't find out what happens to them till the very end. So that's why I can't say if it ends well or not for their relationship.
Okay. Well, I think we've given them enough to at least get into the story and to be compelled to read it at least, right?
Yes, I highly recommend this one.
So we've been playing Pokemon Sun and Moon, the full version. So, well, the first thing we did was transfer our Nuggets and our
we talked
Greninja
about
over
the demo.
Yeah. So if you don't have Sun and Moon yet, go play the demo because you do get the Ash's Greninja. You can still get
if they still do that, because they used to do a countdown until the release, so now there's stuff that you can't get anymore. You might be able to get the Greninja, but that's about it, because everything else was a daily thing. Yeah,
that's true. But I have to say, we're about we're a few hours into the game now. We've been playing it quite a bit, and they've changed a lot of things. I actually like most of the things that they've changed. Instead of a bicycle, you can ride a Taurus. But also, instead of doing the HMs, they've given you access to some Pokemon that'll do that for you.
You can ride them.
So you can ride a Taurus, you can ride a Charizard, and that's fly now. So what I used to do in the older games, I would have 3 Pokemon, usually my starter and then 2 others, which is usually a Gengar and something else. And then I would have the other 3 at the bottom. I would teach one Cut, one Fly, and then the other one I'd pick like a Geodude or something to teach it Rock Smash and Strength and whatnot.
So you have to either waste perfectly good moves with those, or you would have to put in some Pokemon in your party that you wouldn't necessarily want in there.
Yeah, and for me, I wouldn't want to sacrifice the moves, so I would just sacrifice the Pokemon, teach them the HM, carry 1 or 2 around and just switch them out, right? But in this one, you can actually, like I say, ride the Charizard or ride a Lapras to Surf instead of teaching Surf to one of your Pokemon. And I like that. Now, for the first time, I've been able to have a full party. It's pretty cool.
I was a little bit disappointed with the picture taking. They showed a little bit of that in the demo. In this one, there's quite a few spots where all of a sudden a camera pops up and you're able to take a picture of the Pokemon there if you want. There's about 2 or 3 that show up that rotate around. You can level up your camera where it's just zooming in. How far can you zoom in? And that's basically it. It doesn't actually, as far as I know, give you anything to take those pictures. It's actually just do it for fun if you want to. So I wish there was actually more of a reward for that.
Yeah, or now that every game is connected to the internet, you can have some sort of server where you can almost make it like Facebook. You can have your pictures up and your profile.
Well, you can save the pictures to your SD card.
Ooh. Right.
So I guess you can share it with other people if you really wanted to.
But you'd be sharing it to people despite the game. It would be cool if the game would actually incorporate that in somehow.
And there's only so many different pictures you can take when they just stand there. So
yeah. The story in most Pokemon games is barely there, right? You go, you catch, you breed, you battle, you beat the Elite Four. But in this one, the story is a little bit more prevalent than in other ones, and it's pretty compelling for a Pokemon game. Yeah, well, more talking, but it's actually it's interesting. You know, a lot of the stories in the Pokemon games, they don't even need to be there. But this one's it's pretty cool. There's a bit of a twist. I'm not going to spoil it, but we just did it, and
we're on the 4th and final island.
So before you get to the 4th island,
long, actually.
Yeah, before you get to the 4th island, there is a twist. I like it, and now I'm kind of caring a little bit more about the story right now. It's nice.
And I am really happy with the new Alola Pokemon. I think it's really cool to do a different design on the first gens, because those are my favorite, and they are really good designs. Of course, everyone's going crazy with the Vulpix and the Ninetales. She's really beautiful.
The only one that I don't really like is the Executor, which is kind of weird. Funny. Oh, it makes sense if you read the Pokedex. It makes sense. It's tail. Just weird, but I'll take it. I've caught 3 already. I'll take it. It's fine.
Even if they're still cheeky and witty with their little descriptions. If you read all the descriptions on the Pokemon, especially the new ones, it's a little bit funny. Some are really weird, like the Sandcastle one where, I don't know, he crushes children's bones underneath or something weird. It's a little bit darker, especially that Mimikyu.
Oh, that was awesome.
Very creepy. I thought that was going to be a little more silly than it is creepy, but it is a really dark ghost Pokemon.
And its Z-move is awesome. I love it. I'm actually using it in my party right now.
Never going to find out what's underneath.
Yeah, no, I don't want to, because like I was saying about Lucifer, in your mind you've set something up. You're
well,
thinking,
whoever's seen it died of shock. So
yeah, that's a creepy Pokedex entry, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I'd rather not see what it is. Just leave it like that and have your brain go crazy as to thinking what it is. Instead of gym battles, they've done trials now, and they're not all battle oriented. So there's something where you need to, do this task.
Oh god, that fire trial.
Oh, I love that fire trial.
That was way too hilarious.
I love that fire trial.
I'm okay with it because they made it funny. I thought it was a little bit weird to give you like little mini game type things.
Yeah.
Where you're still sort of battling, but it's more like you're battling just regular Pokemon, and then you battle a really strong one as the third or fourth.
But there's a little trick to some of the trials, right? And that's fun. Except for the one we got on the boat and he's like, hey, battle me. But other than that, there's been a little trick to them, which is fine. I think I'd rather the gym battles, but I'll take it. It works in this context. There's a lot of things that I don't think other games could have gotten away with. Well, other Pokemon games could have gotten away with. But in this game, in this context, it works.
It works probably because there's enough trainers to fight, and it gives something different to do.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure.
What I didn't like, though, there's only like 3 closed stores in the entire game. So I really liked all the ones at the beginning, and I'm thinking, oh my god, if they keep going like this, and there's so many different designs, but I couldn't wait to continue to go and see what other stores had. Well, there's not that many other stores, and again, at the end, you're left with so much money you don't know what to do with, and you kind of wish you could spend it on more clothes and more stuff, but it looks like the 4th and final island, there's nothing there. There's no stores, there's no towns. I think they said it's more just an environment and lots of Pokemon to catch.
Yeah, it's too bad. At this point in the game, I have almost 30 of each item, and I'm at about $700,000. So I need somewhere to spend that. If there was like a rare stones store that sells everything for like 50,000 or something, that would be cool.
Yeah, they only do fire, water, and leaf, so there isn't dusk or. What was good about that, though, is that if you do Pokemon Pelago, or however you want to pronounce that, where it's a bunch of islands that Charizard can take you to once you get Charizard, that was really awesome. That's a lot of good extra stuff that they give you. You almost feel like you're cheating by going over there because they give you beans that you could feed your Pokemon. So it's like Pokemon Ami, where you can use those beans later to feed them and pet them and get their friendship up, which is good for a lot of Pokemon because that's what you need to do to evolve them. So there's one island where you can collect lots of beans and also place them back on that same island and have other wild Pokemon appear. So this is where you can get some Pokemon show up that you've never caught before. So you get extra Pokemon that way. The second island is a cave. So they go inside the cave and they can collect rare items for you. You do have to upgrade these islands with beans by giving them beans. You grow the beans.
Beans and also number of Pokemon too.
Yeah, so that's probably the best one to upgrade first is the beans because you need beans for everything to upgrade all the other islands.
And there's also an island where you can grow beans too.
That's the one I'm talking about, yeah. So you should upgrade that one first because they give you more beans the more you upgrade it. And you need to use that to upgrade the other ones. So do that one first. Then there's the cave one where you actually can get some stones. You can send your Pokemon in there for a few hours and they can find you. I've got extra moonstones. Before in the other games you could only find the one and you have to decide, do you want to evolve Jigglypuff or do you want to evolve Clefairy? And then you probably have to trade for another one. But this one you can do it all on your own. I've got lots of moonstones, dust stones, sunstones, whatever. You can check up with them daily and get new ones every day in real time.
But you can also send them to get treasures like pearl strings and nuggets and that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, so there's cool. More help with money there because nuggets give you a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Then you've got another island where you can just do a bunch of berries. I never found the use to berries. I know your Pokemon can hold them or you can give them to them and they all have different effects and stuff, but I never needed those, so I never bothered growing berries in other games. This one might as well just collect a bunch of berries in case you change your mind because it's there and it's free and it's easy to do while you're doing the other islands. You just shift through them. There's another island where once you've upgraded it, you can have 18 Pokemon upgrading their stats. So you can upgrade strength, agility, whatever, but the best one is that you can give them experience points. So you don't even have to bring them along with you anymore to level up. Here, you just leave them sit there all day long and they get more experience points. And then later, if you want to put them on your team, they just need to gain one more level in order to evolve if you want to do that. And then the last one is Hot Springs, where you can put your Pokemon there. You can put another 18 once you fully upgraded it. And if you don't leave them in the hot springs for too long, because they do get too hot, I believe, they become friendlier towards you. So again, you get more hearts with them, and that is important for some Pokemon. Like if you want Sylveon, you need Eevee to have full hearts.
Yeah, but one of the islands you can also put eggs, and it'll hatch them for you, right?
That is in the hot springs.
Yeah.
So we looked that up, and apparently if you put eggs in the hot springs, you don't need to walk around anymore. They will eventually hatch in the hot springs.
That's pretty cool. Because, again, the same thing where you take up a slot in your party, which is an egg, right? Mm-hmm. And as far as I've seen, I haven't really found any place where you can, stick a penny in your DS and have it just run around. So I think that's neat. You can just drop off all your eggs there. And you said maximum of 18, so it's perfect for breeders.
Yeah, so a lot of good things that they do to help you out with this game. So It's really not a losable game.
It brings down the difficulty of the game a little bit, but to me, it's a very casual game, and they've made it a little bit more casual, and I like it. I don't want to go with a game that has a high degree of difficulty if I'm just playing it around a couple hours, here you go, right? If I'm going to get into a really hard game, I'm going to do that and take the time to do it. But a Pokemon game's never like that for me.
It does feel like they actually made it harder to catch the Pokemon to me. I don't know, I end up using a lot more Pokeballs, and I end up using a lot of the different kinds of Pokeballs that you can buy, because there are some that actually end up working better, and they do have lower percentage rates for certain Pokemon, so there are a lot harder to get Pokemon in this game.
And don't overlook Wonder Trade either, because you got an ultimate beast in Wonder Trade too, didn't you?
Yeah, some people are really generous, but you really have to trade for quite some time, really, to get a good one, because everybody just wants to get rid of their Magikarps or something.
Yeah, I think I traded 15 Magikarps on Wonder Trade, so yeah, I'm one of those people. One element to the game that I couldn't really figure out was that Festival Plaza. I went in, they gave me an explanation, I had no idea what it did, so I just didn't go.
I don't know how you get those points. And really, I find it pointless to do the upgrades or use those points to get certain things or items there when you can just use your money.
The only thing it's good for is where you go to do your trades, global trading system and all that kind of stuff. So it's useful, but those shops and stuff, I haven't really checked them out. I don't know. I don't really care to, so whatever. But all in all, it's a fun game. I haven't finished it yet, so we do need to gotta catch them all. But we also we got to finish the story. Right now, they're talking about building a Pokemon League or something like that. So we'll see if that works out, and if at the end of every game you get to be the champion. So I just don't know how they're going to do that in this game.
And a lot more other places might open up too, because we did skip through a few in the other islands.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, no, it's fun. So we went out and saw Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. It's another, quote-unquote Harry Potter movie. J.K. Rowling wrote the script, wrote the screenplay for it. It was a good story. I was wondering how they were going to do that just by using the textbook that she wrote earlier, because there's not really much of a story there.
It's just definitions of creatures that are there.
Yeah, but it turned into a pretty interesting story.
And she did tie in a few things to Harry Potter. If you play closer attention to some of the things that they talk about, and the earlier times with Dumbledore, they actually do... she's really smart.
Oh, yeah.
She does actually give you a lot more backstory. She planned all of that out already, and she had all those stories in her mind already, and now she's just developing them.
Yeah. There's going to be 5 movies? I think in total,
think they plan on doing another 4.
Yeah, that might be a bit of a stretch, but if she's behind it, I think it'll be fine.
It's probably going to lead up to the big battle of Dumbledore killing off Grindelwald.
Yeah, spoilers, but it says on the back of a chocolate frog, so I think we've already been spoiled on that. But the main bad guy is Grindelwald. He's not really in it that much in this movie. No spoilers. But, where are they going to go with that, right? It's really about Newt and his partner, I forget his name.
Yeah, sorry, that guy. And he was really funny and
He's
a good
really
actor,
good.
So we actually really did enjoy him.
He was really good.
The main girl character really did not like her. Did not like her as an actress. Didn't like her as a character. If she was supposed to be the good guy, I didn't see that. She was just more annoying the whole time and frustrating, and I just wanted her to go away.
Yeah, it was a very dry character.
Yeah, and I didn't like that there was maybe like a romance thing.
Yeah, her sister was really funny.
I still didn't like her either.
I did.
That was way too stereotypical.
Oh, it was
cheesy and corny.
It was, but it's a Harry Potter movie, so I'm okay with that. I think
there
it works.
was a lot of cheese in this movie.
But but with her and the guy that I forget his name, they played the comedy really well, and I appreciated that. She had a bit of a moment with Newt that was a little bit more sentimental, right? Because she can read minds. So she was alluding to a lot of things that they weren't actually saying that I hope come into play later. So I felt that was a really good scene because Eddie Redmayne's a really good actor. I really like him. I think he played it perfectly. It was really good.
I really did enjoy all of the beasts in this one, especially Pickwicket. Oh my god, the little green guy is adorable.
Yeah.
And the other one at the beginning, I can't remember what type of beast he is, but it's that platypus kind of monster, and he just loves all of the shiny things, the jewelry. That was really funny, so that was most of the comedy there.
Yeah, that was really good. When we go to his beast sanctuary, there's a bit of an issue. For the most part, the animation is very good throughout the whole movie.
Special effects were kind of terrible.
Well, no, for the most part, they were okay when they were out in the world. But once they were in his suitcase, spoilers, I don't know. It's early on in the movie, so it's no spoilers. But when we were in the suitcase, there was a weird lighting thing going on. And he'd be with one of the beasts, and there'd be lighting on him. The lighting would be different on the animated creature.
It looked rather fake.
He would interact with the creature, and there'd be no feeling. It looked like he was just brushing air, which he is, but they could have done it a lot better.
Yeah, his hand doesn't touch down.
The texture. I know how hard it is to do feathers, but there was no texture really on those feathers.
And he did have a lot of actual fake backgrounds that I noticed when they're walking through different regions. But that just kind of ruined the vastness of what's in there because you didn't realize how many beasts are actually in there and all separated out. So I was a little bit confused. Is it real nature? Is it fake nature? Some things were a little bit weird and hard to tell.
Yeah, they'd have this shot of this gigantic, like African plain. And then you would turn around and there'd be like a background just billowing that got ripped off, and we're like, well, is it like a habitat that he made with magic, or did he just kind of build it? Right? They didn't really address that, and it seems like it's a little bit of both. It's weird. There's a funny little snippet in there. We read that article actually this morning about Obscurials, and maybe there's something to do with Dumbledore's sister,
Ariana, I believe. Her name is.
That really, it's a bit of a stretch, but it makes sense.
He does talk about her in the last Harry Potter book, and how I'm not sure if he uses the words that she was ill or something happened where she was mistreated by Muggles, and so she suppressed her magic, and he really needed to take care of her. So that's really pretty much all that he says. Something happens, and she ends up dying. She ends up dying. It's an accident.
Yeah. So I'm going to post the link to the article in the description, because if you've seen the movie, give that a read. It makes a lot of sense. And usually I don't like fan theories and people kind of going into that, but this one really makes sense.
Because what they're saying is that about suppressing magic, maybe his sister became an Obscurial because she'd never used her magic again and she had a hard time controlling it. So it makes sense, and I would believe that it's actually true because there are a lot of layers and a lot of depth to J.K. Rowling's stories. She always it always feels like there's a bigger world out there, and she always does make connections like that.
Yeah, she does, and they're very well written. And this movie finally has that sense to it that the books have, and that I really like. The Harry Potter movies to me kind of missed the boat on that, but this one, because she's involved, it really had that sense. So I can really appreciate that.
So we're excited to see the next one.
Yeah, we really are. They kind of wrap up things a little weird at the end, but I still think they've left the door open to
Johnny Depp appearance. Kind of weird. Not gonna say why. Bit of a spoiler on that one, yeah. Well, just go see it. The best thing I could say is go see it. If you're a fan of Harry Potter, I'd go see this one, even if just to give it a chance. It turned out to be a really good movie. Like I say, animation was a little weird, but they've left it open enough for more movies. So we'll see. That's all the time we have for the 7th episode of the Mojoverse podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, and YouTube at Mojoverse Sudbury. And now Pinterest.
That's right. You can get the podcast on iTunes, and you can get it on Google Play Music. So if you have an Android, perfect. You can listen to us. Thank you, everybody, for listening. My name is Mo.
And this is Joe.
And we'll talk to you next time on the Mojoverse podcast.